clearly here. I don't think corruption is the word that we should ascribe to breaches of ethics in journalism. Although it involves money, breaches of ethics actually could be so small, so slight, to really serious and grave. Ethics are actually situations when we are faced with dilemmas between what to choose, two difficult choices. So it's really not about corruption per se, or it would be wrong to label the word corruption on all the ethical breaches that we have committed. Let me put it this way also, big and small, all of us have erred against the ethics code of journalism. The important thing actually is to consider how else can we actually do right by our ethics now and in the future. We have seen, for example, that some of our colleagues blaming each other, assigning greater or lesser blame on ourselves and less on ourselves and more on the others. But really, ethics is not just about poor and economic working conditions. Although big improvements in both could encourage our frontliners to act more independently. We have seen, for example, the poorest of the poor in the media, who are paragons of journalism ethics, but also the most affluent few, who are not really the biggest ethics examples in our midst. To assist the discussion of these issues, actually, the PCIJ launched in 2012 two team reporting projects by reporters and editors in the Visayas who had attended our seminars. Ariel had wanted us to put out this story, but it's due out in end of June. In the first report, we looked at the living and working conditions of reporters and correspondents in the Visayas. In the second, we looked at the unholy alliance between partisan politics and media agencies in the Visayas. We're releasing the report by end of June. Across a 2-month period for the first report, the PCIJ team conducted a survey of 90 reporters, 90, correspondents and editors in the Visayas. The survey focused on three subject areas: media employment and status of work, editorial policies, and self-imposed guidelines on conditions of work and ethics, and proposals to improve the welfare and working conditions of journalists. This is in response to what Eileen said yesterday could be an idea, a white paper by the PPI on living and working conditions of journalists. We're happy that our journalists in the Visayas actually made this survey and story possible. So what were the findings? The survey was conducted to get a collective picture of the issues and concerns that confront daily media in our practice, in the field, and at the newsroom. So what do we have? Of the 90 reporters, 53 said they are regular employees. Only 11 contractual, 7 stringers, 10 freelancers, and 16 correspondents paid by story or report. Their gross monthly take-home pay for 34 respondents, 6,000 to 10,000 pesos a month, gross. For 25 respondents, about 10,000. But for majority of the respondents, 40 about, it's really less than 6,000 pesos. Now let's look at the living conditions or cost of living. According to the respondents, majority of whom have children or are married, their gross take-home pay would be actually not enough to cover cost of living expenses. That means for about 60 of the respondents, over 60 of the respondents, 5,000 to 30,000 pesos a month. That means double the amount of money that they're getting from their media agencies. And so we asked, do you receive other benefits, cash, from your media agency? Positively, the 53 respondents said, yes, they do. And then 36 respondents said no. Now, what are the mandatory benefits being covered by the media agencies? 53 respondents said SSS, GSIS, and PhilHealth are actually covered. 28 respondents did not give answers, and 28 respondents said that question is not applicable to them. Okay, the encouraging insights from the survey, I'm wrapping up, include the fact that 81 respondents said their media agencies have written or articulated ethics codes or policies, although these are not enforced to the letter sometimes. But if the policy on accepting cash with gift from sources vary, actually in theory, it also varies vastly in practice. From it's okay to accept it secretly, do not get caught, to it's okay to accept up to a certain amount only, or do not accept under any circumstance at all. Indeed, the so-called corruption of the media is also a supply-demand chain. More than 60 of the respondents said they had been offered money by sources, typically politicians. The policy is actually tested day in and day out in the field, especially where reporters face safety and safe passage issues. We have heard reporters say that how could you not actually cooperate with a warlord when your very life depends on it, being friendly to warlords. So it is not a flat-out black and white issue really. It's a complicated story that we all have to handle together as a community. I served as chairperson of the Philippine Press Council in 1978, 1997, 98. And at that time, we even agreed, as we do now, that sunshine is the best antidote to checking omissions, big and small, against our ethics code. But what we thought was important too was for all of PPI to act on these issues, and not just to single out journalists gone astray, because they exist not in a vacuum, but amidst all the many frailties that we have as a community.